the channel and the latest episode of This Week in Retro Gaming. Despite it being a holiday weekend with the Thanksgiving holiday, we have plenty of news for you. We'll talk about the latest release from At Games with their new Legends 4K Pinball. We'll talk a little bit about a surprising shipping from a retro system that everybody's been wondering where it went. And we have an update on the 2023 Video Game Awards. So without further ado, let's jump. All right. We're back. And like I said, today we're going to talk about a lot of interesting news. And first up, let's just jump straight into it as we take a look at Games' latest pre-order. The Star Trek Kelvin Timeline Collector's Edition. This is 4K Pinball. It's the latest in the line. This one, again, is partnered with Zen Pinball. Perhaps it's not the Star Trek everybody was waiting for, but it is a Star Trek IP nonetheless, so it's pretty exciting. So let's just take a look at this new tab. As you can see, it features art from the Abrams Kelvin Timeline series. On the right side here, we have the black and white logo of the primary crew of the Enterprise. The front does feature the Enterprise in orbiting Earth, and of course that FX Legends 4K Pinball logo there across the top. The cabinet does feature the Enterprise topper, and with that Enterprise backsplash on the back box with the Enterprise logo speaker grills, which we'll take a closer look at. And here is an image of the left side. It is again an image of the crew, this time in old San Francisco. And of course, on the side of the back box, you see Captain Kirk there is phaser drawn. And again, here's another image of the right side, and of course, Spock on right side of the back box. One of the things I'm not too thrilled about myself in this, otherwise I would be pretty interested in this particular design, is the replication of the Enterprise on the back box and the topper. It's literally the same image. To me, that kind of distracts. Either the Enterprise should come off the back box and just have the Star Trek logo there, or they really should have two different images of the Enterprise, maybe coming at different directions. One of the other disappointing things with this release is really, I think people were hoping for a release from an actual pinball. So one that was a classic real release that Zen has, virtualized. They do own Star Trek The Next Generation, so I think a lot of people were really hoping to see that design. But nonetheless, if you're a fan of the Kelvin timelines, this is a good-looking machine. I'm not too keen on the decisions of how they've done the crew here. I think, again, more visuals of the Enterprise works better than necessarily some of these crew shots. Of course, mixing them in would be fine, but it's just an interesting design decision in my opinion. But like I said, I do think it looks good. It's just not where I thought a Star Trek would go from Zen and At Games. So here's an up-close picture of the topper. And it is backlit, of course. And then there's an up-close picture of the Spreaker grills with that Kelvin Timeline Starfleet logo. One of the interesting things about this pinball, which of course is available for pre-order right now, it's $200 down, and then you have until the end of April to get it for a total price of $11.99, and the end of July, the end of December to get it for $12.99, which is still $200 off the standard price. These both are expected to ship in March and or April. Again, these come with the standard 14 games that we're seeing this, but here's the surprise. It comes with the three new pinball games from Zen, who's releasing a lot of new tables this month. And these three are among them. You have the Kelvin Timeline, you have Star Trek Discovery, and of course Star Trek Pinball Deep Space Nine for fans of the older show. And then you'll recognize the rest of these games. These other 14 are on a lot of these new limited edition pinball tables. It's Amazonia, Battle Deluxe, Sinistar Deluxe, Dinosaur Dynasty, Exoplanets, Farfalla Deluxe, House of Diamonds Deluxe, Pool Champion Deluxe, Red Show Deluxe, Robot Deluxe, Spooky Deluxe, Strike Deluxe, The Last Ice Age Deluxe, and the Universe Deluxe. And so that's it for that one. Again, this is available for pre-order now. It was launched just ahead of Thanksgiving for a Black Friday launch event. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. Next up, we have a bit of interesting news for those like myself who placed an order many, many moons ago with Polymega. I updated a few weeks ago that some shipments for Polymega had arrived in ports. They came in October 20th, I believe. And since that time, though, we've heard nothing from Polymega officially. No announcements on their Twitter, no announcements on their website. That is until this week when they sent out emails to those who are still awaiting their pre-orders. And these emails, of course, are to confirm you haven't moved in those many, many moons since you ordered. And then they give us some indication here that says they are planning to begin shipping orders in December. So I myself haven't received my pre-order of my deluxe bundle of the Polymega. So I am super excited to finally get this in. Once I get it, we will certainly have a complete review or a refresher review, right? So this is a new manufacturing run, so never know what to expect from the original run that a handful shipped out of a couple of years ago. But I have high hopes, so we'll see what we have there. And then next up, let's talk about Nintendo Switch Online. Nintendo earlier, just a few days ago, really, announced a new adults only app for the Switch Online, Nintendo Switch Online service. This is largely due to Nintendo's decision to release some M-rated games to their N64 streaming platform. In Japan, this particular app is in Japan. It's the law that those adult games have to be separated from the rest of the games. Here in the US, we already had received James Bond 007 to the platform. In Japan, they did not get that. This new app will allow them to release 007 as well as the Jet Force Gemini. This is, of course, a of course. Well, we're getting our fun little thing here. Let's just go ahead and exit that. So the Jet Force Gemini is another M-rated game for the N64, and it is set to launch in December here in the US. So that is pretty exciting. It is one of the much rarer games on the N64. So for a lot of people, that will be your first chance to play. I'm pretty excited about that and what this move says for the future of Nintendo Switch Online. Could we see titles like uh, Resident Evil or some of the other mature rated games that were released on the N64? Time will tell. One of the other things I wanted to talk to you all about this week is the 2023 Video Game Awards. And I figured, why not go ahead and do our voting right alongside you all? So here I have my ballot up for this year's nominations. I will not be voting in every category, but I do want to go ahead and take some time to take a look at a few of them. So first up, we have the uh, nominations for best esports event, and quite honestly, I didn't follow all of these events, but there is one that stands out to me, so I will be casting my vote for Evo 2023. And why did I choose that event? Well, it's pretty simple. That is the one event that Arcade One Up went to and debuted the new Street Fighter II Championship Edition cabinet in the Dynamo HS5 design. So that's the one that drew my attention most, and therefore they got my vote. The next category is Best Esports Coach. I will not be voting in this one. Hopefully, some good recognition goes out to all those who are nominated. Christine Chi, Danny Sorensen, Jordan Graham. I will not pronounce your last name, Remy. And then Yoon Sung Young. Congratulations to you. And of course, best esports team, Evil Geniuses, Fnatic, Gaming Gladiators, JD Gaming, and Team Vitality. Again, I will skip that vote. Best esports athletes, we have Faker, Zywoo, Demon One, Hydra, Ruler, and Imperial Hall. Again, I will be skipping this vote, but congratulations to you all. Best esports game. And we see the staple year after year. We have Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, League of Legends, PUBG Mobile, and Valorant. I'll probably just cast the vote for the staple in esports, League of Legends. Next up is Content Creator of the Year. Again, I will choose not to vote in this one, but we have Iron Mouse, People Make Games, Quackity, Spreen, and Cypher PK. Most anticipated game of the year. I think this is an interesting one for nominations. We have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8. I will probably cast my vote for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I think that game looks fantastic. I have to admit, I have not played the Final Fantasy VII remakes just yet. It is on my list. Of course, I played the heck out of Final Fantasy VII when it originally launched. Of course, got into that pretty big, bought all the toys, all that fun stuff. For me, that was the game that brought me into Final Fantasy, was number 7. Next up is Best Adaptation. We had a lot this year. We have Castlevania Nocturne on Netflix, the Gran Turismo movie, which is inspired by a true story, the Last of Us series on HBO, the Super Mario Brothers movie, and Twisted Metal. I have mixed feelings about these. Twisted Metal was featured things from the game, but I wouldn't exactly. I mean, how do you make a Twisted Metal series? It was interesting. Um, the clown was somewhat the most surprising for me in in that show. They definitely took a unique take. Super Mario Brothers movie was fantastic. I don't think you could have adapted that into a movie any better than they did. Of course, outstanding performances by Jack Black, um, Chris Pratt, and everyone else in that movie. Uh, Gran Turismo was a good flick. You know, it is what it is. Obviously, they take a lot of liberty with the real story, but it's an entertaining movie. I have not seen Castlevania Nocturne, but I have heard great things. But for me, I will be casting my vote for Last of Us. Uh, Really, the first Last of Us game is a work of art. Great gameplay, great story, depressing story, um, but very good. And you can't get better than HBO's adaptation of the game. I mean, it is pretty close. A lot of scenes came straight off the video game. The set design, costume design, they just did amazing. Having said that, I doubt I'll be watching season two. I really think Last of Us 2 was a giant letdown. Uh, Pretty famously, as you change characters in that game halfway through, you become the villain. The overall story, I think, rips off too much from The Walking Dead and the Negan scenes. And then as you become the villain, I just kept, quite honestly, was not compelled to be successful with that character. I kept every time, I would make a misstep and get killed. I was hoping that would just be the end of the game because it just was not well done. And if HBO sticks to how well they did season one, I'm just not going to find that season two that compelling. So I'm going to quit on top, where Last of Us season one was really probably the best video game adaptation ever created, and I will enjoy that uh, many times. But I will be skipping season two so that I don't ruin season one for myself. Next up is the best multiplayer. And of course, we have Baldur's Gate 3, which is nominated in many, many categories. Diablo 4, Party Animals, Street Fighter 6, and Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Let's start and talk a little bit about Super Mario Brothers Wonder. I think uh, nominating this for best multiplayer speaks more to Mario as a character. The multiplayer in this is less than co-op. I mean, there's some co-op aspects to it, but essentially it's just a bunch of shadows running around with you. If you die, they can bring you back to life, which certainly makes the game a heck of a lot easier. But it's not true co-op. I'm just not a big fan of how they implemented multiplayer in that game. Street Fighter 6, I mean, it's Street Fighter. What can you say? They did add a campaign for the first time in this one. And I know I was not all that impressed with the campaign. It really seems more like a training piece than anything. Elaborate character creator. So, again, Street Fighter multiplayer, what can you say? It's par for the course. I have not played Party Animals. Diablo 4, I felt like this is a shadow game. This game came out and basically heard nothing about it after its release. And of course, Baldur's Gate 3, and I will be casting my vote for Baldur's Gate 3. This is a game that has so many stories, can adapt to so many moves by the players. It is a work of art. It was delivered complete. Uh, Unlike most games, didn't rely on giant day one patches. Uh, and it took a lot of heat for that. But again, co-op in this allows you to play up to 4 players simultaneously, all making your own decisions in the story. Impressive. And we'll have more on that in future videos. Next up is best esports racing. Best sports / racing. So we've mixed the two here. We have EA Sports Football Club 24, previously FIFA. You don't get my vote simply because you did not pay your licensing fees. Just kidding. It's an EA game. They're pretty much garbage. F1 23, Forza Motorsports, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharge, and the Crew Motorfest. I do not have enough experience with these latter games to vote. I'm not a huge arcade racing or racing simulator fan, so I have not played these. I am interested in playing Hot Wheels Unleashed 2. I've heard a lot of good things about the first one. But again, I know the soccer fans do like FC24, so EA have one there. If you were asking me to rate or vote on Madden, I would laugh at you. That's the problem with EA is they just keep releasing the same buggy ridden software, slightly upgraded. It's not worth the money they charge. Next up, we have Best Sim or Strategy. We have Advance Wars 1 and 2, City Skylines 2, which is, again, another fairly new drop, Company of Heroes 3, Fire Emblem Engage, and Pikmin 4, a release nobody saw coming, along with the remasters for Pikmin 1 and 2 on the Switch. I've heard good things about City Skylines. I've also heard that it was not delivered with a lot of the quality of life features that had been added to City Skylines 1. So I will not be casting my vote for that one. Advance Wars 1 and 2, I have not actually played, but you can't go wrong with Company of Heroes. So Company of Heroes 3 gets my vote. Best family game. Again, we have some Disney Illusion Island. Pretty artistically a great looking game, but very easy. Party Animals, Pikmin 4, Sonic Superstars, which is another 2D Sonic, and of course Super Mario Brothers Wonder, which will get my vote. Wonder is that classic 2D Mario with an updated art style. People are giving it a lot of praise as revolutionary. I don't see that. I've played every 2D Mario game. I've played every 3D Mario game. I can tell you, it's just it's much akin to all the other recent 2D Marios. Yes, it's got this wonder aspect that takes you to a little different way to play through the levels. There are some new enemies and new friend characters, but for the most part, it is Mario. It's the same kind of game. There's nothing really revolutionary or new about this, despite what some reviewers are trying to tell people. I really enjoyed it. Like most of these Mario games, it was too easy. They are some hidden levels and worlds that give you a bit of a more challenge, but the main game, main story, main levels are all very simple. And now without time aspect of Mario, you can collect everything till your heart's content. So the challenge is not there. Again, if you, as we mentioned before with the online multiplayer, if you enable online connectivity, you'll have random characters there that can save you, that make it even easier. They'll throw up standees, which you can use to regenerate if you die, if there's not a character there. So it makes it, even on more difficult levels, it makes it very, very easy to complete. So from that standpoint, it was a bit of a disappointment. Best fighting game. Of course, we have God of Rock, Mortal Kombat 1, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, Pocket Bravery, and Street Fighter 6. despite what I said about my disappointment in Street Fighter Six's campaign, I will say that the fighting and everything really in Street Fighter Six is really good. I like the mixture of the classic style and the easy style moves, and of course, the addition of the campaign really breathed new life into Street Fighter Six and brought a lot of new people into the community. So that one will get my vote. And of course, best RPG. We have the disappointing Starfield. If there was a nomination for the biggest disappointment, I think Starfield would get my vote. It is a fine game. It's I don't know. The way Bethesda sold this thing is so revolutionary, so mind-blowing, really a disappointment. Um, the space simulator aspect of it is adequate. The first-person shooter aspect of it is adequate. The RPG aspects of this game are adequate. What's the sum there? None of it is great. It's all just adequate. There was nothing revolutionary like we were promised. Um, the simulation aspect of the space is really not there. It's a series of loading screens and JPEGs, and what little space battles there are not very intriguing. Yeah, you build your ship, but it really serves more like a giant inventory closet than anything else. Um, yeah, I was just so disappointed. I did play through it. I think the story is so. I think they don't do enough to provide motivation at the beginning of why you're doing things. You're just doing them. And then the ending is much of a cop out just to get you to keep playing and looping through the same content over and over, making different decisions. My recommendation, I mean, I ultimately enjoyed playing it, so I don't want to sound like I did not like it. I thought it was fine. I thought I enjoyed playing it. It's not a game I'm going to invest hours and hours of going through and doing it over and over and over like they want you to. It's just not compelling enough. Um, I'm really more looking forward to Star Citizen or Squadron 54, whatever they call it here, the Wing Commander clone. That's the game that Bethesda promised us, and they did not deliver. Sea of Stars, the surprise RPG in that retro style. People are loving this game. I think if you're talking best like surprise RPG, that definitely would get my vote. Lies of P, I have not yet played this, but again, I'm hearing great things. Final Fantasy 16, what can you say? It's another Final Fantasy. I've heard mixed reviews on that. I have not yet played it. And of course, Baldur's Gate 3, has to get best RPG. Again, criticized for being too complete at launch. This is a great title, great game, great flexibility. It's your story, and you can do it how you want. Pretty miraculous work of achievement, in my opinion. Best action adventure. We have, of course, Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know what else I can say about this game. It is fantastic. I was taken back to a kid when the original Legend of Zelda released on the Nintendo Entertainment System. I just had so much fun with that game, and this took right back there. The exploration, um, the creativity of building different devices and tools to solve puzzles. I was like a kid in a candy store all over again. It brought back all of that nostalgia. It took what Tears of the or Breath of the Wild did right. Of course, we're wearing that shirt right now, and then just upped the ante. I loved this game. This is definitely one of my favorite games of the year. Um, Next up is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. This is one that um, was pretty lackluster at launch, largely because it shipped prematurely. The Respawn bragged about how quickly they were able to rush this game out, and boy, did it show. Performance issues across the board, consoles, PCs, you name it. It took quite a while for this to settle down. As a result, I have not played it yet. I My son's played through it several times, but I have not. It is on my list that I hope to tackle here over the holidays. Excited to play it. The first one was fantastic, and I've heard this one is good, but not as good as the first one. Resident Evil 4, another remake here that is largely um, it's largely identical to the first story-wise. There are some additional scenes, but a great release nonetheless. We have Marvel's Spider-Man 2. This was Sony's big release for the year. It was a fantastic game. Not as good as the first one, in my opinion. I think there's quite a bit more content in the original Marvel Spider-Man, but it was good. I enjoyed it. Um, Enough about that one. And then, of course, Alan Wake 2. This is one I have not yet played, and I'll tell you why. It is only available on digital. So I, like many others, am not interested in playing this until they release a physical edition. Even if the physical edition only has a download file on the disc, like some of the Call of Duty games do, I'm not interested in buying a digital only. I went digital in the PS4 era, went all digital, largely so I could purchase the digital games and install them on multiple PlayStations in my house so that I could play games with my son. But as the Polymega was announced and some of these other things, and I decided to get back into retro gaming. I had sold off most of my collection um, in the past, in the not too distant past. And so it was kind of easy to get back into that as a result. But this time my collection kind of went a different direction. I started collecting things I never owned, so I went after the original Famicom titles. So I'm trying to get a full set of Famicom. Uh, you can imagine that's a little difficult in the United States, considering that it's a Japanese release, but it's not impossible. Well over 700 titles, so I've got just about 300-ish to go. And there's some of the more uncommon and rare ones, though I do have some common ones that I just haven't found. Again, the problem of being in the United States and collecting Famicom. But in addition to that, I completed the entire Wii U set because that was an underappreciated system that I really loved when that came out. I thought the quality was fantastic, so I did complete that collection. And then I'm just kind of going after odds and ends of some of the systems I really liked growing up. Anyway, Alan Wake is one of those I've enjoyed in the past, and I was excited for this, but I am irritated that they are dumping physical. And, you know, if and when these stores and retailers dump physical completely, I don't know that I will continue buying console games. Um, these companies can take them away from you whenever they want. They can shut down the stores and you're left with nothing. I don't like that. I do not buy into Klaus Schwab's "you will own nothing and you will like it." Uh, I do not agree with that. I want the physical editions. I want to be able to resell it or trade it when I am done with it. Um, I've paid you a lot of money. It should be mine to do with as I please. So on this one, I am kind of torn. I think I'm going to vote for Tears of the Kingdom. I just think that was a great one. A lot of good titles in this category, but Tears of the Kingdom does it for me. Next up is the best action game of the year. And here we have Remnant 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Ghost Runner 2, Dead Island, the game that, boy, people were waiting for this to come out, what, 11 years? Uh, where was this game? And then Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. I will be honest, I have not played any of these. Dead Island was a title on my to-do list for many years, but it took them so long. I wasn't interested by the time it came out. Hi-Fi Rush. I mean, this is, a shell-shaded game. Cell-shaded game. A great art style. I have not had a lot of time to play it. So I'm going to skip this category. I think most people are probably going to vote for Armored Core 6 over here. But to me, this category embodies titles that came out that kind of came and went rather quickly. Next up is the best VR AR experience. We have Gran Turismo 7 for those driving simulators. Horizon Call of the Mountain, the proverbial tech demo for the PlayStation VR 2. Humanity, which I don't know much about. Resident Evil Village VR and Synapse. And Resident Evil Village VR will get my vote here. This is the complete game for Resident Evil Village, just as VR. So it is intense. It can be scary, jump scares, creepy, suspenseful. I mean, Resident Evil games are great in VR. That's all I have to say. And this is another one of those that is just fantastic. Best mobile game. I don't see any of the mobile games I play on here. What's up? Where's that? Where's Pokemon Go? And so here we have Terra Nil, Monster Hunter Now, Honkai, Star Rail, Hello Kitty Island Adventure, and Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. I will not be voting for any of these. Mobile games tend to be just pay to win or pay to gamble. Not my cup of tea most of the time, and so I do not play many mobile games, and these among them, so I will not vote. Best debut indie game. Not much to say here. We have Viewfinder, Venba, Pizza Tower, Dredge, Cocoon. I have not played any of these, so we will move on. Best independent game, Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Sea of Stars, Viewfinder, and we will give this one to Sea of Stars. Again, this is likely a classic RPG. This is one people will play again and again for years to come. So congratulations to these guys. You have my vote. I've heard good things about Dave the Diver, but have not played it. Best community support. Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, and No Man's Sky. Boy, where do I start? Destiny 2. I'm a huge fan of Destiny. Played it since the start. Never really bowed out until about a year or so ago. They just keep recycling the same formula. There's no innovation. There's no change. So I don't know how this can possibly get outstanding community support. You can only sell me the same thing over and over so many times before I say to you. So then we have Baldur's Gate 3. Obviously, they went above and beyond in the release of this game to ship a complete game. At the same time, they are very vocal on their updates and patches. So good job to them. Cyberpunk 2077. This one just might get my vote this year. I have not yet played the new DLC, but I've heard great things about it. This is a release originally that was much like No Man's Sky, met with high anticipation and just did not deliver. But since then, both these companies have really invested a ton in fixing what was wrong, bringing new content, and delivering not only a complete game, but an extension of those complete games. No Man's Sky's been around a little longer, so I have a feeling they've won this category before, so I will vote Cyberpunk 2077. Congratulations to them. Best ongoing. You have Apex Legends, Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact. Uh, you got to go Fortnite on this. I am not a Fortnite player, but I know they're redoing their original season here. This current season of Fortnite, it is a game that seems to have staying power. People love to play and continue playing, and this is bringing back a lot of OGs to the community. So that one has my vote. Next up, Games for Impact. Again, I will not be voting on any of these. I have not played any of them. So there you have it. Denba, Terra Nil, Chia, Goodbye, Volcano High, Chance of Sonar, and A Space for the Unbound. Innovation and accessibility. Again, I probably will not vote on this. I do not need accessibility options, and so I have not tested or used any of these accessibility features. Yeah, so that's all I'll say about that. Street Fighter 6, Mortal Kombat 1, Marvel Spider-Man, Hi-Fi Rush, Forza Motorsports, and Diablo 4 are the nominees. Best performance: Ben Starr in Final Fantasy 16, Cameron Monaghan, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Idris Elba, Cyberpunk 2077, Billy Libbard, Alan Wake 2, Neil Newborn, Baldur's Gate 3, who I think will get most of the votes, Yuri Lowenthal, Marvel Spider-Man 2. I mentioned I have not played Phantom Liberty, but I'm voting for Idris Elba anyway, because whenever you have a chance to vote for Idris Elba, you should vote for him. He's awesome. Really wish he took the role of James Bond, because I think he would be an awesome Bond, but it sounded like he was not interested. If you haven't seen Hostage on Apple streaming, you should check it out. It's awesome. Or Hijack, I can't remember what it's called. So awesome, I can't remember the name. But it stars Idris Elba, and it is great. So, best audio design. We have Resident Evil 4, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Dead Space, and Alan Wake 2. I think Alan Wake 2 will take the cake on this one. Again, haven't played it, so it will not get my vote. Dead Space remake was okay. I didn't get very far before I got bored with it. Hi-Fi Rush is a game full of music. Resident Evil 4 is Resident Evil 4. I'm going to go ahead and vote for Spider-Man 2, though, to be honest. There's nothing special about the audio. Best score and music: Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush, and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And the music in Tears of the Kingdom is what it was. It's fine. Hi-Fi Rush is all about music. Haven't played Final Fantasy 16. We've talked about Alan Wake a few times. I think you got to go Baldur's Gate 3 here. It's epic music. Every scene really has a great score to it. So there. Best art direction. Again, Alan Wake, I think, will probably win there. Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Nothing new about Tears of the Kingdom in terms of art direction. It simply builds upon Breath of the Wild, so not really worth even the nomination, in my opinion. We've seen it before. For me, I think I'm going to go Wonder. I do think Alan Wake 2 will probably win on art direction, but I think the whimsy, the redesign of the character models in Mario Wonder really liven up and freshen up the IP. So I'm going that way. I think it was well done from that standpoint. It's a beautiful game. Yeah, I just don't know what to say some more about that. That is the one part of that game that I think is much improved, is that dreamlike atmosphere of Mario. Best narrative: Marvel Spider-Man 2, Final Fantasy 16, Cyberpunk, Baldur's Gate 3, Alan Wake 2. Outstanding storytelling and narrative development of game. I think you'll probably see Alan Wake 2 or Baldur's Gate 3, but I'll be honest, I think Marvel Spider-Man 2 is going to be where my vote goes. That may be somewhat surprising. I think I'm looking at it like, it's somewhat of a story we've seen before with Venom, but if you look at this, this is likely part of a trilogy, right? Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2. They're building like a trilogy that the stories are connecting well. They flow. They bring in multiple characters, so you're playing as multiple different people throughout the thing. They've built in real character development across the games, whether that's Peter Parker, Miles Morales, um, uh, my brain just stopped working. Um, wow, like I can't think of, for some reason, can't recall Peter Parker's love interest name. Like, wow, it just gone from my brain. Anyway, um, even Aunt May's character, I think the side characters that serve to motivate the main characters are done well. They've just done a great job. Even the motivations on the villains are well played out. As you saw, Doc Ock, um, the Venom character, Krang or Craven. Some of the other ones kind of thrown in, like Vulture and stuff, and Scorpion, maybe not so much, but the main characters definitely. And of course, we've been on this 2-game, really kind of 3-game journey, but 2-game journey of Osborn becoming Green Goblin, and we're now staring at Spider-Man 3 and Green Goblin emerging to take out our 2 Spider-Men. Should be an interesting game when it releases. I'm excited for it, and so this gets my vote because I think the narrative is really done well in these games. And of course, best game direction. You have Alan Wake, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. This is creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. I think Baldur's Gate 3 will take this. I'm not going to vote for Baldur's Gate 3, and I'll tell you why. It is built on the D&D series. Its rules, its gameplay have been well thought out, well designed over decades. It was a feat to translate that kind of flexibility into a video game, but to me, that's where the innovation stopped. The narrative, everything else, that is standard play in D&D. And so for me, I've got to look at this and say, what was the kind of most revolutionary thing? And I think that is Tears of the Kingdom for me. I think they took a model that was tried and true with Zelda, and they tried something new. They introduced this elaborate crafting system where you can just about make anything you can imagine. Things from cars to space vehicles to robots to Korok torture devices, you name it. There is an endless amount of possibilities. The physics on this game are insane. The amount of complexity that is built into all these little tools is just it's awe-inspiring on how they were able to achieve that. So for me, Tears of the Kingdom gets this vote. Next up is Game of the Year. And we do have some surprising nominations, of course. We have Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, which is likely going to take it, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, a remake. Not the first remake to be nominated for Game of the Year. Resident Evil 2 remake did that quite a while ago. Super Mario Brothers Wonder, and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So let's maybe take a step back and talk about why not some of these. So Alan Wake 2 again. Uh, I don't know how your game of the year when you pigeonhole who can buy your product. I don't care how well your game is. To me, that's problematic. Um, you're a big budget studio. You could have done a physical release. Uh, so, you know, for that, you probably deserve nominations from what I understand, but I definitely don't deserve to win. Baldur's Gate 3. Uh, this is a feat, right? A feat in development to be able to bring that D&D game model to life, to build in the co-op, to build in all that flexibility. Probably deserves to win. So let's not talk about why not them. Uh, that one's pretty good. Marvel Spider-Man 2. This is Sony's premiere release of the year. I really enjoyed it. Probably not worth a Game of the Year nomination, despite the fact that it is Sony's primary release for the year. If you were going just by that, sure. But I'm not going to do that. I think it's a great narrative. It deserved the nomination there, but I'm not going to call it Game of the Year. Resident Evil 4. This is a game we all know, we've all played, we all love. One of the, if not the best in the series. So the remake is also really well done. Again, don't know if it deserves a nomination. Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Uh, very good 2D Mario. Nice to see 2D Mario take a little step forward and come back into the fray a bit. It's been since the Wii U and some of the re-releases on the Switch of those Wii U titles since we've had a 2D Mario. But I guess you could call the Maker series 2D Mario, but those are what they are. Great, fun tools to play, but not really complete games. And then of course Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I think this is well deserved, super hype game, super anticipated. The community is huge. The response to this was huge. Lots and lots of content being created, which shows people are really loving that game. So I think that definitely deserves a nomination. Some people will say Starfield. Why isn't Starfield on here? That's Xbox's premiere release of the year, and I think we've talked about that before, right? It's just meh. It's a mid game. It's not deserving of uh, a nomination, in my opinion. It is. I think Spider-Man 2 way more deserves a nomination than Starfield, and I don't even think Spider-Man 2 deserves a nomination. Starfield's an okay game. It's just meh, and it's nowhere near Bethesda's best. It's not their worst, but it's not their best. Um, yeah, so that I'm not going to keep beating up on Starfield, but I think the people that are upset it didn't get nominated are just they're either fanboys for that system. I own them all. I don't discriminate. I think they're all great. I will say Starfield is better on the PC than it is on the Xbox Series X. I'll just say that right now. Thankfully, with Game Pass, or Game Pass Ultimate, you can play on both, which is what I did, and your save does go across. It is better on PC, despite what anybody says. Runs better, looks better. Yeah. So who am I going to vote for? I think for me, it comes down to Tears of the Kingdom or Baldur's Gate 3. And I don't think you can discount what Baldur's Gate 3 has done for RPGs or gaming. Hopefully, it reminds studios that they used to release complete games, that it's still possible to release complete games, that it's worth taking the time to complete a game before releasing, that you don't need to strip out content and resell it to us for a money grab. You can release a full game full of hours of content and people will buy it, and people will buy it again and again. They will get more friends to buy it. You don't need to shell out half-baked games to meet a deadline, to just make people angry. You make consumers mad, you ruin your reputation. I certainly have not gone back to some of these games like Cyberpunk 2077. I was super interested in that. After that launch, it was so bad. I couldn't bring myself to play it again. So I haven't played the DLC yet. No Man's Sky, I know we've talked about that earlier. It kind of brought its reputation back from the grave a bit, but how many consumers did it lose because of its lackluster launch? Of course, uh, man, every EA game. I just wish they would take a year off, maybe go to releasing just new rosters and new players every year as DLC. Charge $30, charge $20. Let people add on to their existing game, by God, and take the time you need to release a polished new game instead of just re-releasing the same one every year, the same textures with minor upgrades and calling it new. You are doing a disservice to your fans. You're doing a disservice to the gaming community, and I really wish you would knock it off. Learn from Baldur's Gate 3, folks. You can have a complete game that punches all aspects of multiplayer, single player, creativity, flexibility, most importantly, well developed, well executed, and well polished. So that is it. We've gone through and cast our votes for this year's nominees. We talked about this week's release from At Games, which the new Star Trek, which is pretty exciting. We talked about the Polymega. So I am going to leave you with one big last actually, let's make it two. I'm gonna leave you with two. First up, we are going to talk about a deal for you home arcade fans. This is probably the deal of the season, and I'm just confirming that it is still accurate. Okay, it is. So let me share this with you real quick. Like I said, deal of the season, in my opinion. I learned about this by way of Danny from the Cornercade and Katie, his wife, Mrs. Cornercade. And so let's talk here. It is 20% off at Wayfair for Time Crisis. This is a highly anticipated arcade cabinet from Arcade 1UP. It debuted at $750 retail. It is one of really only two new titles in the home arcade space from Arcade 1UP this year. It features 4 shooters: the original Time Crisis. Let's see here. I forget the other. Steel Gunner 1 and 2, and then of course Point Blank, which is a must play. This cabinet, of course, has the pedal. It is set up for 2-player for the other 3 games. Time Crisis 1 is only 1-player, for those of you who are wondering why only 1 pedal. Because if playing 2-player, you would need 2 screens and 2 pedals. But Time Crisis is only 1 player. The first one, anyway. And so 20% off is huge. $150 off gets this cab to kind of the retail price most people thought it should be from the beginning. But that's not it. It's not just 20% off. You can take another 10% off by signing up for Wayfair's text marketing. You do that from the main Wayfair page. In the lower left-hand corner, you'll see a link that says get 10% off to sign up for text messages. Takes 10 seconds. Put in your phone number. You'll get a text. Respond to that. Say yes. They will reply back with a coupon code, and that coupon code works. So that'll take it from $60.95 down to $540. You can't get a much better price on that. here's the deal. The clock is ticking. You got 4 days left. Actually, you might only have till Cyber Monday, if that. So clock is ticking on this offer. So check it out if that's what if you're interested in this. I think it's huge. Huge discount. Very interested at that price. So next up, and this is something I'm pretty interested in, and I've talked about it a few times in some other people's streams. Earlier, about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, Unico, maker of the MVSX, the home arcade SNK Neo Geo arcade machine, is going to be releasing a new candy cab. The candy cab is a shell, so you can put your own PCs, your own boards in it. And it is, of course, inspired by those candy cabs of the late 90s. It is a huge 26-inch screen, Sanwa sticks, Sanwa buttons. The thing, it's all metal, which probably means it's expensive. But because it doesn't come with the internals, the computing components, maybe that's going to keep our price down a bit. It is called the Nova Blast. And why does this matter? Well, it matters because next weekend we are going to be attending the KC Retro Show, which is December 2nd and 3rd. So if you are in the Kansas City area or Des Moines, Omaha, someplace close, St. Louis, you're all within a few hours, come on down. Special guest Unico will be at the KC Retro Show. I am hoping they will be bringing Nova Blasts with them in addition to the MVSX and some of their other products so that we can pick some up and take the Nova Blast for a test drive. So stay tuned next weekend. I will try to get some interviews with the Unico guys, get some gameplay footage of the Nova Blast, and hopefully be able to show you good size comparisons as well. Some of the images that have been released, it's hard to tell just how big that screen is. I think there'll be some ways to do that to give you some perspective on those images. I'm really looking forward to that. Again, this is Kansas City's premier show. We don't have a lot of video game stores in the area. There are a handful. So this show, which pops up every couple times a year. This is the first of this year, and it's a big one. Always fun to go to. So hopefully I'll see some of you there. If not, stay tuned for those videos because I'm going to shoot quite a bit there. Maybe do some game hunting, a game hunt challenge. Of course, the Unico videos, and there's a whole couple different retro arcade folks are bringing in their arcades. So should be lots to see and do. So be sure to check back next week as we go over that. And with that, we are done. I want to thank you all for joining us for another edition of This Week in Retro Gaming. I know we covered a lot of modern gaming, but modern gaming is next year's retro. So played a little fast and loose there with the theme of the show, but hope you enjoyed it. Love to hear what you think on the nominations. Who are your favorites? Who's going to win? Who didn't get nominated that you think should be in there? Leave me a comment. If you've enjoyed this video, hit like, hit the subscribe button to see more like this, and of course, ring that bell for notifications. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time.